for you. When I created the Shabbat, I created it for you. So you can know that I am the creator, that I'm your creator. I'm the one who's in charge of everything. If I created everything, I created this day, you will know that I am Yahweh. I'm the one who sets you apart. Just like I did set that day apart, I'm setting you apart for me. You're included in that day. There was no other reason to make the Shabbat except for Israel to keep it. That's the only reason to make it, is for Israel to keep it, so Israel can teach the world how to keep it. Because he said, this is a sign for you. This is a sign between me and you, not the world. This is a sign between me and you, Israel, not anyone else. Is he asking any other person that he knows? He doesn't know any other people. You're the only people that I know. You're the only family that I have intimacy with. You're the only one that I'm asking to do this. Our responsibility, this is the reason why we're in trouble. It's because we haven't done what he said. And he says this, therefore you are to keep my Shabbat, this day of ceasing. And here keep means guard. You got to guard that. You got to guard it's his. It was made by him, for him, in order to impart it to the people that he loves. And he says, because it is set apart for you. I made it for you. I didn't make it for anyone else. I made it for you. Because if you don't know me, and you don't know what I'm doing, you won't be able to teach anybody anything. Okay. So my Shabbat was made for you. That's why I made it. When I created the heavens and the earth, I created my Shabbat. And when I created my Shabbat, I say that you will know, when you keep it, you will know that I am Yahweh when you keep the Shabbat, because it's set apart. I set you apart. Just like I set the day apart, it's the sign. So if you don't keep the Shabbat, you say that Yah's not the creator. If you don't keep the Shabbat, then you're not being set apart for Yah. If you don't keep the Shabbat, okay, you're saying that Yah did not stop to do what he wanted to do. Okay, you're saying that he didn't call you to do this. Everyone who treats it as ordinary must be put to death. There's no exceptions. Everyone who treats it as ordinary. We all know what the word ordinary means, like any other day. It doesn't matter. I worship God on every day. It doesn't matter what day he's asking. But remember, our word was from our perspective versus his perspective. Yah says, whoever treats it, meaning the Shabbat, as an ordinary day, doing what they want to do on their day, they must be put to death. This is the reason why no one wants the old covenant, the so-called old covenant. This is why they're looking for a new covenant, because the new covenant says that you can do good and you can do whatever you want to do. All that has been paid for. So you don't have to keep the Shabbat anymore. And that's going to be the reason why Yah is going to kill them. Okay. And I know, it doesn't always feel good when we hear that Yah is going to kill people. But the bottom line is that they're the ones who wanted to die. Okay. And I can prove that they're the ones who wanted to die. He didn't want to kill them. Okay. So don't let me put it out there like he's the one who wanted to kill them. They wanted to die. Okay. They want to die. Period. They want to die. You say, well, how do you know that? Because I could take you to Ezekiel 20 and show you. They wanted to die. This is what he instructed them to do. But they don't want to do what he says. Okay. And there's reasons. Okay. So he's telling them, whoever does this is going to die. Whoever who treats my day ordinary, say, you know what? I'm going to keep doing what I want to do. You're dead. You're going to die just on default. You must be put to death. Whoever does any work on it is to be cut off. That's the whole cutoff piece. Not just you can walk away. You ain't walking away. You're going to die. And how are you going to die? When you come across something that's not being fruitful on a tree, or you see some poison, or you see a disease part, you cut the branch off the tree and then it dies. So when Yah is talking about put somebody to death, he's saying cut that part of the tree off because it's going to bring forth bad fruit. It's not functioning correctly. So it has to be cut. And then when I cut it, it dies because it's cut off from the community. So instead of me waiting for you to die like I did in the wilderness, I'm just going to go ahead and slash you out right quick. Because it doesn't matter. Your life doesn't, your existence. I want everyone to understand what I'm telling you tonight. Let me take that Y off of that. Our existence is predicated upon us doing what Yah says. If we don't do what he says, he's killing us. That's just it. That's not a joke. It's not funny to me. It's not any of those things. You just got to understand, this is not my interpretation. This is what he said, because it's a sign, and a sign is forever, like he said, okay? So he says on 6 days, you get your work done like I did, but the seventh day is a day of ceasing. It's a day of ceasing for what? Complete rest, complete, okay? And it's set apart for Yahweh. It's his day. Whoever does any work on the day of Shabbat must be put to death. You're going to be put to death. The people of Israel are to keep. Now, listen, the people of Israel. That includes people who join themselves with Israel. Okay? Stranger, foreigner, same law applies. Poor, black, doesn't matter. You are the people of Israel. You are to keep, guard the Shabbat. You are to do it. Observe means do physically, okay? Through all your generations as a perpetual covenant. Now, you all know what the word perpetual means. Mm-hmm. That means it doesn't have an end. It's for eternity. As long as there are a sky, a moon, the stars, and the sun, there is a Shabbat day, okay? Mm-hmm. It is a sign. Again, he's reiterates it again. It's a sign between me and the people of Israel for just until you know, for about 25 years.
Wow.
You only have to do this when you're in the land. Is that what it said?
Mm-mm.
No, because Yah created the heavens and the earth. So everything that's encompassed in the heavens and the earth is what you and I see and experience on a daily basis. The very oxygen that's on the seventh day is sanctified. You hear what I said? The clouds that are floating around on the Shabbat are sanctified. Anything that happens on that day is set apart for Yahweh, and it's forever. So you got 6 days to do whatever you need to do. When I talk about 6 days, I'm not talking about 6 nights. I'm talking about 6 days of light. If you want to work in the night and, here you can, but the Shabbat is about a day. It's about sunlight, okay? Yahweh made the heaven and the earth, everything in it. And by the way, Yahweh is the creator, just in case we didn't know that. He's the creator that made everything. So on the seventh day, he stopped. He ceased. He stopped working. He said, no more working right now. I'm done. So if I'm done, my servants are done. Okay? So you ask yourself, right? You say, well, what do you mean, my servants? Is that the question? Because that's what it is, right? So if he's telling you and I not to work and not have our servants work, I want to show you why the Torah says that you shouldn't do it, your servants, your sons, your daughters. Are you and I Yah's children? Yes.
Yes.
Are we his sons and his daughters? Yes. Are we his servants? Yes. Yeah, we are. That's who we are. So let me show you something that you've probably never seen before, because that's what I love doing. I love showing you stuff that you've never seen before, so you can really let it soak in, okay? And he has us going to Leviticus chapter number 25, which is ACHI'KA, okay? And it's verse number, I think, 15. Let's see. If anyone sells your neighbor, let me look right quick. I thought it was Leviticus 25, but I might be wrong. Oh, no, I'm not wrong. I know it's not wrong. Consecrate 15. Rather you to take into account the number. You rather you to hope I'm not wrong, you guys. I wrote it down and then let's see here. It's a little further in the game. Sorry. So verse number 39. I'm way off. Okay. So it is still in right chapter. Okay. So here's what it says. Verse 38 says what? I am Yahweh, your Elohim. Okay. He says it over and over and over again. And what is he saying? I'm your Elohim. Okay. Mm-hmm. Who, what? And that's how you know I brought you out of the land of Egypt. Why does he keep saying that? So, why does he keep saying it over and over?
So we never forget. It's just repetitive things.
You never forget.
Remind us.
Yes, just a reminder. You never forget, because he doesn't want us to forget. Because if we forget this, then you're going to believe someone else is Elohim. You're going to believe someone else is Elohim.
Yeah, and after thousands of years, yeah.
Yeah. He said, I brought you out in order to give you what? This is my order to give you what? A land. The land of Canaan. That's where I brought you out. And to what? So number one is to do this. And number two is to do what? This. So by him giving us the land of Canaan, correct? Because that's what he wanted to give us. He gave that to us. He said, I want to give this to you. Okay. Did he told our father that he would give him the land. He told our father Abraham, but he also told Abraham, when I make a covenant with you, I make a covenant to be your Elohim. So these two things right here, for him bringing us out, was to fulfill what he said to his servant Abraham, the promise that he made to him, the oath that he said to him. I'm going to give your descendants this land that you're walking on, and I'm also going to be their Elohim. I'm going to be their God. I'm going to be their power. I'm going to be their protector. I'm going to be that for them because you're my friend. Okay. He says, if you have a member of your people who have become poor among you and sells himself to you, do not make him work. Okay. Don't make him work as a what? Do not make him do the work of a slave. Do not make him do the work of a slave. Why? Because he's from Israel. He is from Israel. So you are not to make him a slave. You guys understand that? Mm-hmm. Not to make him a slave. Why?
Because he's your brother.
Yeah, he's your brother. And because Yah redeemed him. Yah redeemed him and he took him out of slavery. So why he's telling you that if you make him into a slave, okay, then we're going to have a problem. Okay. So verse 42 says this. Let's read 41 though. He says, then he will leave you. Well, I don't want to do that. Yeah, Salaki, forgive me. Let's continue. Rather, you are to treat him like an employee or a tenant. So if you have an Israelite that's working or becomes your slave, you treat him like an employee. You pay employees and you pay a tenant. Okay. If they're with you, he will work for you until the year of Yovel. Yovel is the 50th year. Every 49 years, you get to work in the 50 year. It's a year of release where they let everyone go back to their ancestral land. You said all the people who were enslaved are under you to be free. Okay. So that's another study. Then he said, he will leave you and he and his children with him and return to his own family and regain his possession of his ancestral land, which I was just mentioning, that has to do with this year of Yovel, okay, freedom, okay, that he goes back to his ancestral land, okay. Verse 42 is where I really wanted to talk to you about. 42 says, for they are what?
Are my slaves.
Yeah, who's his slaves?
Israel.
Who are his slaves?
Israel.
Israel is Yahweh's slave. Yes. That's what I wanted to show you. Okay. So when Yah tells you and I to let our slaves, our servants, because slave and servant is the same word, aved. Aved means to serve. Okay. All right. And when you're Israel, you don't serve for free, you serve for money. Okay. So when you're serving, if you have a slave, you're my slave. Okay. Yah says that you guys are my slave. You're my servants. Well, that's terrible, because the only thing we know about slavery is how we were treated, right? So that's terrible. Who wants to be a slave? So when you talk to people and you tell them that Yah is requiring something from us, they don't want to be slaves. They don't want to serve Yah. Don't you get it? They don't want to do what he says, because that means they're a slave. That's why he's asking us to obey his orders, because we are his property. We belong to Yah. He redeemed us. He paid for us. He honestly can do anything he chooses to do with us at any time he chooses to do it. He has the right to destroy us. Just like he has the right to destroy us, he has the right to bless us. He has the right to discipline us. Can anybody else come in your home and tell you how to discipline your child? Yeah, today they can. You understand? But if you're the master, what servant? You're the master of someone, and I come in and tell them, no, you don't have to do what they say. You don't have to come and do what they say. You've caused a rebellion and a revolt against me. I'm the master. Yah is saying that I am the master and you are the slave. You're my slaves. Because you're my slaves, that means you have to do what I asked you to do. I'm the master who brought you out. I brought you out of, because look, therefore they are not to be sold as slaves. So our going into slavery and being sold should never happen, because we're Hebrews. We're not supposed to be slaves. But Yah's the one, he said, you sold yourselves. I didn't sell you. I didn't sell you. You sold yourself into slavery because of your sins. What's that, Bess?
Cheaply sold ourselves. We sold ourselves for
you
cheap.
sold yourself. Yeah, you sold, well, he said you sold yourself for nothing, because you serve nothing. You serve gods of wood and stone. You serve the idols that you serve are nothing. So therefore, you wanted to serve nothing. So guess what? I'll sell you for nothing. You sold yourself, excuse me. You will sell yourself for nothing because you serve nothings. So I'm going to show you what it is to serve nothings. You serve nothing, so go serve them. Go sell yourself, and you did, to gods of nothings who can't save you. That's what I want you to do. Go sell yourself to the gods who can't save you. And let's sit back and watch and see how they save you. So the question is, has anyone, any God besides Elohim ever delivered the children of Israel? No. So salvation is Yah bringing us out physically from somewhere. I brought you out. Okay? That's what it is. Because you're his slave. You are accepted. You don't like the word slave? Let's just put it in the Hebrew. You are an aved. You are a servant. You know, a lot of times we go around, oh, I'm Yah's servant. Okay, well, you like the idea of serving Yah, but do you like what Yah is telling you to do? No, you don't like it. So therefore, you abandon the term slave and thought servant was a nicer word. In Hebrew, they're all the same. It's called aved. E-V-E-D. Okay, aved. Okay, so you're an aved. You're a servant. All right, and Yah calls us this over and over and over. He says, you're my servant. David is his servant. All his prophets are his servants. Moshe was his servant. They're his slaves. Do you understand? They don't have a right to say and do whatever they feel like doing. So if I tell you to keep the Shabbat, I'm letting you know that I'm your master. Okay? But he tells us, if you get a Hebrew Israelite and you employ him, you don't treat him as a slave, because you guys are my slaves, right? So think about where we are right now. We're being treated harshly. So therefore, that's a violation of the Torah. Therefore, these people are going to get dealt with harshly, okay? But you are to fear Yah. Fear of how? Learning what he says, treat the people the way he says. Well, Dawid, you know, you said something also too about, us losing our life and whether or not, Yah is serious about that, because surely there's a lot of grace and mercy that's available on the market, and he's not doing it like that no more. He's not doing that anymore. You're making stuff up. No, I'm not. I'm telling you what he says. Okay. So let's see what else he says. He says in Jeremiah chapter number 17, okay, which is an interesting chapter. It's full of all kind of goodies. Okay. 17 says, pull it up. The first part I wanted to tell you was this before we go into the other part. He says, here's what Yahweh says. Verse number 5. A curse on the person who trusts in humans, who relies on human strength, his heart turns away from Yahweh. That's first point for all of us. You depend on what a man says versus what he said, you have a problem, okay? But let me show you what he said about the Shabbat, okay? He says this. He tells him, he says, then Yahweh said to me, go and stand at the people's gate, and the kings of Yehuda go in and out. Go tell the kings, go tell the people, and all the gates of Jerusalem, and say to them, kings of Yehuda, all Yehuda and all living in Jerusalem who enter these gates, hear the word of Yahweh. Here's what Yahweh says. If you value your lives, don't carry anything on the Shabbat or bring it through the gates of Jerusalem. Don't carry anything out of your houses on Shabbat to do any work, okay? Instead, make the Shabbat a holy day. Make it a holy day. Why? Because I, Yahweh, ordered your ancestors to do this, but they neither listened nor they paid attention. Rather, they stiffened their necks so that they wouldn't have to hear or receive instruction. That's the problem. Because they said, we're not your servants. We're not going to do what you tell us. We're going to do what we want to do. However, if you pay attention, pay careful heed to me, says Yahweh, and carry nothing through your gates on this city on Shabbat, but make the Shabbat, instead make Shabbat a holy day, a day which is holy and not for doing work, then the kings and princes will occupy the throne of David and enter through the gates of the city, riding on chariots and horses. But the thing was, if you value your lives, is that a threat? Yes, it is a threat. He's not playing with the Shabbat, okay? Why are you focused on the Shabbat? Because it's a sign, because it has to do, today's the Shabbat. Today's the Shabbat. It's a high holy day. It's a Shabbat. It's a time he says that you're not supposed to do any work on it. If you accidentally did it, Yashah, you ask him for forgiveness. And you throw yourself at his mercy and say, next year, I will find a way not to do any work on this day. I will find a way. If you didn't know, now you know. That's why you're supposed to read the Torah, because you will find every cycle you go through, you'll be like, okay, what did Yahweh say? So that's what he wants us to understand. You got to understand that the Shabbat is a holy day, okay? But Isaiah 58:13 says this. If you hold back your foot on Shabbat from pursuing your own interests, okay? So that's business interests and doing your own thing on my holy day. Remember, it's here, my holy day. If you call Shabbat a delight, you rejoice in it and say, oh, it's a burden, but you say, no, I love it. Yahweh's holy day, worth honoring. This is something that you could do. Because here it is, it's a if, so it's an if you decide, because it's not going to be, I'm not going to give you any choices. You could choose to do what he asked you to do. And then if you choose to hold back your foot and pursuing your own interests on my holy day, and you call it a delight, a day worth honoring, then honor it. Don't just tell me that you're going to do it. I need you to honor it. Then honor it. Then honor it by not doing your usual things or pursuing your own interests or pursuing your interests or speaking about them. I don't need you to be talking about your business. I don't need you to be talking about anything that you're going to do during the week that you could talk about other 6 days. Okay. You do that, that's all a possibility, right? So, and then he says, if you do what? If you honor, you decide you want to do it, you will matzah. That's matzah. Okay. So what is he saying to us? He's telling us the only way that you and I will ever find delight in Yah is we have to search for it. You got to search. That's matzah. Matzah is a searching. It's a continual search. So Yah tells us this so we can find out what we need to do. So if you're searching through Yah's scriptures, you could say, well, wait a minute. The Shabbat is a delight to Yahweh. So the only way we're going to find delight is finding it in the Shabbat. You have to look for it. You will find, if you keep the Shabbat, you will find delight in Yahweh. Your delight is in Yahweh's Shabbat. So it's not a grievous thing. It's not a hard thing. It's something that you should do. Then he makes a promise. I will make you ride on the heights of the land and feed you with the heritage of your ancestor. ACHI'KA, for the mouth of Yahweh has spoken. Does Yah have a physical mouth? No, he made the mouth. He's just given us terms, anthropomorphic terms, so we can understand that these words came from the Holy One of Israel. So you and I have to find it. And we can only find delight in it when we look on the day that God says that it's his day. It's my holy day. If you do, you will matzah. You will find delight in Yahweh. Because you'll be able to get into the text. You'll be able to find different things that you've never seen before. You'll be able to be free from all your oppression. You'll be free from all your worries and the tasks. Gives your body an opportunity to revive itself. Your organs get to get a rest. How important is the Shabbat? Well, the Shabbat is super important, like I've been saying. Okay. I know that I'm just going on and on and on. And I wanted, this opportunity for us to come together, but I thought it's necessary that we would learn. It's always about learning, and I don't want to waste your time. I want you to understand the importance of what this day really means, because this is Yah's day. And he chose for us to be part of it because it's set apart. Now, Yah says something about the Shabbat that was pretty interesting. It's in chapter 26 and it's in Leviticus. And he says this. He says that he gives them a whole bunch of things that if they did something wrong, then he's going to let them have it. Okay. If they don't do what he's asking them to do, he's going to let them have it. He's going to punish them. Okay. Verse number 33 says, I will disperse you among the nations, and I will draw out the sword in pursuit after you. Okay. So I know, a lot of people say, oh, you're so negative. You're always talking about being put in exile. You're always talking about all the bad things. Once you ever talk about grace and mercy, this is your grace and this is your mercy. Yah could have destroyed us, but he's not. He's saying the only way you and I can ever go back home is if you and I decide to have a change of mind and a change of heart, which is your mind. If you don't get taught and you have to make a decision, then you'll never make that decision. And then when he comes, he's going to destroy you. And then after you're destroyed, you're going to be like, well, why did I get destroyed? And then I'm going to have to give an answer because I didn't teach him. Because I wanted to be friends instead of telling them what you said. You don't need a teacher who's going to tell you what you want to hear. You're going to need a teacher who's going to tell you what you need to hear. Okay. I will disperse among the nations and I will draw out the sword in pursuit after you. Okay. That's where we are. And that's why we're being treated the way we're being treated. It's because there's a sword and execute vengeance for going against the covenant. Okay. I'm going to send it after you. I'm going to send you out the land, but that's not all I'm going to do. I'm actually going to send the sword after you too. And your land will be to desolation. So I'm going to desolate all the land. I'm getting rid of all the cities. I'm tearing everything down. All right. Then at last, the land will be paid what? It's Shabbats. That's why I got to get you out of there. because you didn't want to do what I told you. You didn't want to keep the Shabbats. You didn't want to give the land its rest. So not only do you get Shabbat, but the land has to get a Shabbat. And as long as it lies desolate, you are in the lands of your enemies, which we are today, then the land will rest and be paid, repaid, repaid, repaid. It's Shabbats. So the question is, how many Shabbats do you think that we didn't give the land?
Wow.
The Shabbats are supposed to be every 6 years, 7th year is the Shabbat. Okay. You go 7 sevens, which is 49 years, but every 7 years during that 49 period, you're supposed to give a Shabbat. Then on the 50th year, that is a Shabbat. That's another Shabbat. Okay. So if they didn't keep these Shabbats, Yah says, I'm going to put you out of land until the land is repaid. So this is one of the reasons why we're not home right now, because Yah is still paying the land back. So you can see the justice in the what? And I told you righteousness is found in the Shabbat. So Yah is using justice to repay the land, because you and I, meaning our ancestors, because that's who we came from. When I say you and I, we came from out of their bodies. Okay. And we're down here now. We're here where we are because they failed to give the land as Shabbats. Yah said, I need to repay the land. I need to pay her Shabbats. Yes. As long as it lies desolate, it will have rest. That means ceasing, right? And the rest it did not receive or did not have during your Shabbats. So he's telling them that you guys did not give the land any rest during your Shabbats. You kept working the fields. You kept planting. You kept taking everything off the tree that I told you not to. You kept gleaning where I told you to stop. You did all that, okay? Where you lived. That's why I put you out, okay? And as far as those who are left, I will fill their hearts with anxiety, meaning that when they're in the lands of their enemies. So you're not here to be happy and singing for joy and you're glorious and you got all kind of wonderful songs. I'm going to put some anxiety in your heart. I'm going to put that in your heart. I'm going to make you very fearful and uncertain about your life because you did something and you're trying to act like you didn't do it. You and your ancestors. You guys like to play like you don't know what I'm talking about. I'm telling you right now that you and your ancestors both have gone against me, okay? He says, as for those of you who are left, I will fill their hearts with anxiety in the lands of their enemies. The sound of a driven leaf will frighten them so that they will flee as one flees from the sword and fall when no one's pursuing. Yes, with no one pursuing, they will stumble over each other as with the fleeing sword. You will have all power over your enemies. Absolutely not. You will have no power to stand before your enemies. So people that are going around talking about that God is with them and they're the righteous saints and he's working miracles for them, they're lying to themselves and others. And among the nations, you will what? Perish. You're not going to prosper. You're going to perish because you're in the wrong land. The land of your enemies, because that's where we are today, they will devour you. So all the taxes they're going to put on you, all the hard labor they're going to put on you, all that kind of stuff, they're going to get you. And those of you who remain will pine away in their lands of their enemies from guilt. Okay. So you're leaving off of guilt. You're leaving off because you feel guilty. You don't understand what's going on. And what kind of guilt? Over your misdeeds and those of your ancestors combined together. So you don't get to get over and your ancestors are not getting over it. You and your ancestors. You guys are supposed to feel bad when you're where you are, right? Then after you go through all this, they will confess their misdeeds and those of their ancestors. This is what he's asking us to do, is to confess our misdeeds. What are the misdeeds? I smoked a cigarette, or I smoked some weed, or I had too much to drink. What is the misdeeds that he's talking about? Well, in context, he's talking about what we did on the Shabbat. Everything that pertains to the laws and the statutes and the commandments of Yah. Do you know how many Shabbats we probably missed, even before our ancestors before we knew anything about this? How many Shabbats have we broken? We just read early tonight that if whoever breaks it should die. Whoever does is going to die. So are you saying that Yah's going to let you off the hook if you didn't know and you found out and you decided that I'm going to do what Yah says, and you confessed that you made a mistake unintentionally because you didn't know, not I purposely sinned against you. You told me to keep the Shabbat and I said, nah, I'm not going to do it. Then I'm going to kill you for that. But if you confess your misdeeds, meaning you didn't know what you were doing and you found out that your ancestors that raised you lied to you, that's why they are where they are. So you got to put it together. We are in the lands of our enemies because we broke Yah's laws, okay, which they committed against me. They committed crimes against Yah in their rebellion, because that's what Israel is a bunch of rebels. And he says it. He says, go tell my people they're rebels. Don't go tell them, you know, you're such loving children. No, you're not. You're children that lie, and your children are not telling the truth, because you're from people who lied and to people who stole and people who rebelled. Okay. They will admit. So you got to confess and you have to admit. And this is what the Christian church wants you to do. They want you to confess your sins, but you don't even know what your sins are. They want to say that you're an evil person and you have natural depravity like everyone else is born, so there's no good in you. That's a lie. Because Yah is, why would Yah hold judgment over us for some? He says your misdeeds. That's miss. That means you missed something. Not that you purposely did something, you misdid it, okay? And those are your ancestors, okay? They purposely did it. If you and I were purposely doing something, we would deserve the death that they are going to receive, okay? So you have to admit where they went against me. When we go against Yah is when we go against what he said, which pertains to the Shabbat, because that's what he's talking about, okay? In his laws and statutes and regulations. He says, at that time, at what time? When they're in the land of their enemies, I will, okay? At that time, I will be going against them while they're in the land of their enemies. Really? Yeah, the nation of Israel. Not just one part of the land, in the lands. I'm not just hitting California. I'm hitting everybody because I got a sword out, okay? But he says, look what he says, but if, it's always an if. So that means it's possible. Their uncircumcised hearts grow humble. So a lot of us say, I know a lot of Christian friends that I say, though, my heart is circumcised, I have the Holy Spirit. No, you don't. No, you don't. You got to have humility is number one, to say, I don't know everything, okay? And I'm guilty, and I know that I've gone against your laws. I read your laws, and I found out that I'm a slave. I'm your slave, and my ancestors went against you. Number two, you will be paid for the punishment of your misdeeds. Those are the two things, is that you got to grow humble, and the second part is you're going to be paid. Just like the land has to be repaid, you're going to be paid. Okay? What are you going to be paid for? The punishment for your misdeeds. That's why you're in the land of your enemies. You're not in the land of your enemies so you can go and call on somebody to die for you on behalf of your sins and your misdeeds. You're in the land of your enemies so you can think about where you and your ancestors went against the Most High, and he turns around and says, okay, if you humbled yourself to me, and then by you being in exile, you're paying for your punishment by being there. This is your punishment. We're being punished right now. We're not saved. We're being punished in the lands of our enemies. We're being punished. When you can't go out and go eat as much food as you want, you're being punished. When you can't live in security, you're being punished. Okay. So you're going to be paid, not someone else. You, they, who Israel are paid. So if they're paid, then how does somebody else come in to pay for you make sense? It doesn't. You're going to be paid, and you're being paid right now. Then he says this, then I will remember my covenant, not a new covenant. I'm not going to remember a covenant that they made in the New Testament. I'm not going to remember some covenant someone said this is a new covenant. I'm going to remember an old covenant. And the covenant I'm going to remember is the covenant I made with Yaakov, which is not in the New Testament. I will also remember my covenant that was Yitzchak, which is not in the New Testament. It's in the Old Testament that they called old. I'm not going to remember my covenant with Paul or Peter or John. I'm going to remember my covenant with Abraham. These individuals that I made a covenant, I will remember the land. I ain't talking about remembering nobody else. After they grow humble and they are paid for their misdeeds. So we're not getting off. So the land is being repaid and you and I are being paid. Okay. And what else? What does he tell us? He tells us for the land will what? The land will lie abandoned. He's not going to remember the land. Why are you going to remember the land? Because I made the land a promise. I made it a promise. I told the land that I was going to put people there that was going to obey my law, statutes, and commandments so she can bring forth the fruit that she's supposed to bring. So I can bring the rain to the land and bless the land. The land is not being blessed because you and I are not keeping the laws and statutes and commandments. That's why it's desolate right now, because the land was only created to have a people to live on it and to enjoy the benefits of it. The land is Yah's land. It belongs to him. So for the land to lie abandoned without them, who? Israel. And it will be paid. It's Shabbats. It's going to be paid while it lies desolate without them. Who? Israel. And they will be paid. Who? Israel. Their punishment. So while the land is getting repaid by its getting its rest, you and I are not getting any rest. Don't you see the connection between the Shabbat and slavery? We did not give the land its Shabbats. Therefore, it needs to be repaid. And the only way that Yah can make this right is to take the people that didn't do what they're supposed to do, that worked the land. He's working us like he worked the land. Don't you understand? So that's why he sent us here so you and I can be able to have the punishment. That's how you're paid. He's working us in the ground to pay for this, pay our punishment. That's why you're sitting here. Okay? So the land is going to be paid, and then you're going to get paid. The land is paid as Shabbats, and they will be paid for their punishment, for their misdeeds. So didn't mention nothing about anybody else being paid except for Israel. Why? Because they rejected my rulings and loathed, meaning hated, my regulations, which is the way that I said to do things. That's why. That's why you're being paid for your punishment, your misdeeds, okay? But he says this, yet in spite of all that, in spite of all of what they've done in hating me and hating my regulations and rejecting my rulings and despising what I told them, yet in spite of all that, I'm not going to be like them because I'm not a man. I will not reject them like they rejected me. We just saw up here, he says they rejected me. They rejected my rulings. But guess what? Yet, in spite of all that, I won't reject them. I'm not going to reject them. Who? The house of Israel. When they are in the lands of their enemies, I'm not going to reject them. Okay? Nor will I loathe them to the point of utterly destroying them. I could, but I'm not. Okay? And thus break my covenant with them. I made a covenant to be their Elohim because I am their Elohim. I made a promise to be their Elohim. Do you know that's the only reason why we're still alive? It's because he made a promise to be our Elohim, to be our God. If he didn't make that promise, we would have been dead. He's only keeping his promise. He's keeping his oath because that's what he swore by his name. Rather, for their sakes, I will remember the covenant. I'm going to remember what covenant? What covenant is he going to remember? Is he going to remember the new covenant of the testimony, the New Testament? No. I'm going to remember the covenant of their ancestors, the ones whom I brought out of the land of Egypt, because that's how he made himself known to them by saying, I'm the God who brought you out, so I need you to remember me. Because if you remember me, then you'll remember my covenant. You'll remember my Shabbats. You'll remember those things. If you don't remember what I brought you out, then you won't remember the Shabbat, okay? So, and I'm going to do it with the nations watching so that I might be their Elohim. That's my goal. I want to be their Elohim. I want to be there because I am Yahweh. You understand? So that's the connection. So you and I and everyone else who decides that they want to do what he says, I need you to hear me. Yah wants to let us know that I am your Elohim. And you will never, ever, ever, ever know that if you don't keep the Shabbat. If you loathe his regulations and you reject his ways, and you say that I'm good, I don't need to do that anymore, then you are a fool. Because the bottom line, that's a shameful thing to do. It's disgraceful. Because the Creator listen, if you just put it in its proper context, and we would call him what he really is, which is our Creator. Mm-hmm. He's our Creator. And he says, this is what I want my people to do. This is what I asked him to do. Jeannie, you said it perfectly. He didn't force this on us. He asked us if we wanted to do it, and we said we would. So it's about us keeping our end of the deal. That's what Yah is asking you to do on behalf of your ancestors. Keep the covenant that you made. You and your ancestors made this covenant. Whether or not you want to accept it or not, you made it. Go ahead, Jenny.
Oh, I didn't say anything.
So this is where we're at. So commemorating today, we know that God wants us to search and find shalom. He wants us to find it for our souls right now. He wrote those stories all through the Torah, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. He gave you that whole outline to tell you about him being the creator, tell you what happened with man, why did we are in a situation, why we die, what was the consequences of that, what was the consequences of going against him, and when he gets tired of something, then he has to execute the judgment on it. And so if we think that Yah is not going to execute judgment on this earth, and we act like he's just not going to do anything and everything is going to go along as it's been going along, then we're sadly mistaken. Some of us, in terms of my family, have been, Jeannie just lost her dad. I lost my mom. A couple of you may have lost others during these last couple of years, and people are still going to be leaving. The bottom line is this, though. There's coming a day where Yah says, I'm going to judge the earth for all of her actions and all her behaviors. And Israel is going to be judged. And you can read this in Psalms chapter number 50. I am going to judge my people with fire. I'm judging you guys. I'm judging all humanity with flames of fire. And if you guys are not prepared, I want you to understand that Yah is communicating that I am not a human being. Okay. So when I talk about justice and I talk about righteousness, you need to understand that when I put the earth in its place, I made it to whereas judgment and righteousness and holiness was part of the creation process. And if these people on the earth that I created don't follow that way, not because they don't understand it, it's simply because they don't want to do it. You guys don't understand it. It's just going to be judgment. It has to be. I created the sun, the moon, and the stars, not only to give light, but to execute the judgment that I have. I gave the breath and the wind. Why? Not just so you can breathe, but for me to put a whirlwind in a tornado. I did not create the sun and the hail and the hailstones for the sake of you to be fascinated with. So, well, look how big those are. Those are for judgment. Those are part of the armory of the Holy One of Israel. He also has soldiers and an army that's in the heavens that he can use at any given time. He has insects that he uses that are his armies to execute judgment. When he wants to execute judgment on a nation, he will call upon another nation to go in and do the work. He's used the people around the land to discipline his children, to let them know that you guys want to keep working the Shabbats, so I'm going to have you work. And you're going to be paid for the stuff that you've done. I'm going to make sure you're going to get paid. And so the bottom line is you go pay what you owe. That's the bottom line. You go pay what you owe. And you're in a relationship with the creator of the heavens and the earth. And I think that humanity, especially Israel, is taking this a little too lightly. Yah's judgment is not one against a person because they're not being right. It's because they choose to be wicked. They choose. Wickedness is just turning away from the Torah. That's what wickedness is. It's not, well, they just decided to be an evil person and kill people. No. No, it's not. It's refusing to follow the instructions of the Creator. That doesn't owe us any explanation. If I told you that this is unclean, it's unclean. That's what it is. You follow what I'm saying? So it's essential, it's imperative that we understand that he is not going to give us any kind of breaks. He's not giving any breaks on anybody. You can read that in Malachi chapter number 2 and 3. He's not giving anybody a break on any deeds of unrighteousness. If he finds that we've broken Shabbat, that's his law. And then you and I break it, guess what? You're being put to death. And that's your choice. He doesn't give waivers and exceptions to anybody. And that's what we've been led to believe. Christianity has caused us to put down our guard and say, well, guess what? He's a loving God. Well, he's been loving us from the beginning. He doesn't need to tell us later that he so loved the world. He's been loving the world. That's why the world continues. So that's nothing new for us. We're not dealing with a human being. We're dealing with a righteous own Elohim, the king of the universe. And he has a name that he has to protect and a reputation that he's going to guard. He won't let anybody get away with anything. And I know you're not being taught that because nobody wants to teach it because they want something from you. They either want your friendship or they want your money, one of the two. So they won't tell you this because they don't want to scare you. Yah says, I don't care about scaring them. You better tell them what I said. If I put my word in your mouth and I told you to tell them what I said and you failed to tell them, I'm going to hold you responsible. That's what he says in the book of Ezekiel. You tell my people what I said. You tell my people that they're a bunch of rebels. And you tell them that what you did was wrong. You tell them you loathe my regulations. You rejected what I said. And I'm not a man. So if you think I'm going to come back and be a man, you're mistaken. If you think I'm like you, you're sadly mistaken. I will tear your heart out of your chest. And guess what? You would say, oh my goodness, that's terrifying. You're just saying that. Dawid, you're just saying that. You're trying to scare us. No, let's hear what he said. Okay. So you can know that it's not me. It's not me. I'm just telling you what he says. Okay. He says this, you can read it for yourself. He says this in chapter number 50, which I told you that it's going to be judgment. Okay. He says this about the people who decided that they're going to talk about his laws. First of all, let's begin. The mighty one, Elohim, Yahweh, is speaking, and he's summoning the world from the east to the west. Out of Zion with perfection of beauty is Elohim shining forth. He's coming, and he's not staying silent with a devouring fire ahead of him and a great raging storm around him. He calls to the heavens above and the earth in order to judge his people. Okay, so that's how it begins. Okay, you can read that when you want to, but I want to show you what he told the other people. This is what he says. He says this. But the wicked says, but to the wicked, Elohim says this. This is what Yah's saying to the wicked. Okay, and the wicked is someone who decided they don't want to do Torah. This is what he says. What right do you have to proclaim my laws or take my covenant on your lips? You speak about my covenant. You speak about my promises. You talk about my laws. You speak about them, okay? When you so hate to receive instruction, okay, which is Torah, instruction, and you fling my words behind you, meaning you say it, but you don't do it. You just cast them behind you. That's Old Testament. When you see a thief, you join up. When you throw your lot in with adulterers, I mean, you're friends with these people. You never tell them you're going to be put to death. You just tell them you're not going, you're never going to be judged. It's okay because he loves you. You give your mouth free rein in evil and harness your tongue to deceit, and you speak against your kinsman, you slander your own mother's son. When you do such things, should I stay silent? That's the question. You do those things that I just talked about, adultery, talking bad about your family, just being the tongue of deceit, being friends with a thief. You think I'm going to stay silent? You think, should I stay silent? The Elohim of the creation. Remember, it began with talking about, I'm here to judge my people. You may have thought that I was just like you. That's what you thought. but I will rebuke you and indict you to your face. I'm going to tell you straight to your face when I see you in those flame of fires. I want you to consider this, you who forget Elohim. I will tear you to pieces. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tear you to pieces and no one to save you. No one's going to save you for me. No one is going to save you from me because you thought that I was just like you. You thought I'm going to forgive and just let that go. I'm not going to let it go. I'm not letting it go because my reputation is on the line. That's why I'm going to rebuke you and indict you to your face. So that's the God that they don't want to tell you about. Okay, that's the God that they don't want to tell you about it. They want to tell you that he loves everybody. That's what they want to tell you. They don't want to tell you what he just said. Do you see who we're dealing with? You really think that he's not coming? You really think he's not coming in a cloud and with dark clouds and fire? Or do you think he's going to come on a cloud with a nice white fluffy robe and people singing with harps? Well, how do you think it's going to happen? He's coming in fire. That's how he's coming. So with that being said, I think we need to prepare. We need to prepare for Yah. That's what we need to do. And we do that by keeping what he says, by humbling ourselves. Say, I don't care about who taught us anything. I don't care how long they taught it to you. I don't care. Maybe they were wrong. And I know they're wrong because he says they were wrong. My mama was wrong. And my grandmother and my grandmother's mother, they're all wrong. Should I continue to do what they do because they were my family? Or should I have to say, you know what? It's about my house and it's about who I am. I have to look at what Yah says for myself. And I have to accept that. I have to humble myself. And I have to admit that I went against him. When you read his laws, you'll find out. But that's the reason why nobody wants to go with his laws. Search for yourself. Find out where they changed the Shabbat from Saturday to Sunday. The Catholic Church did that. And he said we did it because we have the authority to change it. They did that. They did that. Find out who created Easter. You'll find out that the Christian Church created Easter. They renamed the Pesach for Easter, named after this god called Ishtar. Go do your research. Go find out that they changed Yah's name from Yahweh, okay, to God or Lord. And then we can find out who Lord is a Baal. He's a god. Find out where the cross came from. You'll find out it came from a god that they worship called Tammuz, that he was the sign of a T, the same sign of a cross. Go find out who the Queen of Heaven is that the Catholic Church still worships today. That's in the book of Jeremiah, chapter number 44, that they worshiped and refused and told Jeremiah, we're not listening to Elohim. We're going to worship the Queen of Heaven. We're going to make some hot cross buns and we're going to worship Mary and them. This ain't nothing new. You're on a cycle. Praise the Holy One that you found your way. Praise the Holy One that he's invited us to get on the path of righteousness and to put us on this cycle.
Hallelujah.
And thank him. Hallelujah. And you praise him every day that we had an opportunity to hear his glorious name. He didn't have to let us know because he said, I'm going to take my name out your mouth. We didn't know his name for centuries. And now he's revealed his name to us again so we can call upon him with a whole heart, with a tamed heart, a tamed mind, a disciplined soul, one that operates in moderation and looks out for the other ones around him. Not some selfish, our people were selfish and they enslaved their own people and wouldn't pay them. They wouldn't pay them, wouldn't let them go. Wouldn't send them away with anything, and Yah blessed them with everything. And they wouldn't give their own brothers and sisters anything, and treated them like slaves. So they left one slavery to go into the slavery of their own people. People talking about how bad Israel's been treated by the nations. What about what Israel did to themselves? That's what they're not talking about. We did this to ourselves. We sacrificed our own children. We worshiped other gods. We brought other gods into the temple and the sanctuary of the Most High instead of altars, and had temple prostitutes performing orgies right there in the temple. and you tell me that Yah's not angry, and you got people out here saying that we got some time. We don't got no time. This is your time to turn and repent and turn to Yah. If you don't, you're going to regret the day that you didn't, because he's not playing with us. I know it's a deep. You probably didn't sign up to come up for that, but it is the truth. The truth is never easy. It's hard to deal with. It's hard to swallow. It's hard to imagine. But I'm telling you, the moment you see that dark cloud, that era fall, you see that dark cloud, and you see this burning coals of fire in it, then you'll know the time is here for Yah to judge the earth, to judge the world and humanity, because the world is wicked and is turned away from Yah, and his people have turned away, and it's our fault. It's our ancestors' fault, because we could have been able to teach the nations, but we haven't. We haven't done it because we don't like to learn and we don't like to teach. We don't want to tell our kids nothing because we were afraid to lose the relationship with them. So we don't say nothing to them. We let them do what they want to do. We don't want to lose our friends. So we don't tell them, hey, if you do that, you're gone. We didn't want to be a snitch. So we would go into a city and they're worshiping gods. We wouldn't say nothing. When Yah said, if you heard about it, you're supposed to report it so I can go and destroy that city. Why? So they wouldn't eventually turn you against me. When you let evil and wickedness abide in your home and in your community, it's going to kill you. If you give people the right to them to go against Yah's laws and give them permission, that's what they're going to do. It's going to kill all of us. Don't you understand that? Somebody got to stand up and say, it's time for us to do what Yah says. We're not going back until we decide that we're going back to do what he says. That's the only way we're going. If you confess, if you humble yourself, if you admit that you're going against me, if you decide to keep the Shabbat holy, set apart, delight in it, if. That's the question only you and I ourselves can answer. Why are you passionate, ACHI'KA? Because I'm telling you. Guys, I study. Ladies, gentlemen, I study every day for hours. Not only the language, but the Hebrew, right? And the text. And I'm telling you that he's not playing. He's not going to let it go. Ever. If he did that, then he would be going against his very essence of who he is. He's not going to let it slide. Don't think he's going to let it go. He's not letting it go. If you rob someone, he's going to pay you to your face. If we commit adultery, I'm going to pay you to your face. You don't pay somebody their wages, I'm going to pay you to your face. You love thieves, you thought I was like you, I'm going to pay you to your face. I'm going to indict you according to what I had said. I have never spoken to any other family on the face of the earth except for your family. And because I spoke to you and I revealed myself to you, you have to be answerable to what I told you. I don't care about what Paul, Peter, and all them taught. I don't care what no human being told you. If they didn't say that I said it, don't listen to them. Have you noticed there's never one word, not one peeping word in the New Testament that ever said that Yahweh had said? His name is never invoked. His name is never written in the Tetragrammaton and Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh. His name is never involved on no text at all. Not even the alleged son did ever mention his name. Never. So if Yah never spoke, then why are we listening? because it's there to test you, to find out whether or not you're going to do what he says, or you go put your trust in a man. I'm going to find out if you're going to be faithful to me. I will. Everybody got to be tested to find out whether or not they're going to do what Yah says. Read it, Deuteronomy chapter 13. He said, I don't care where you are, any part of the face of the earth. You serve and you do what someone else told you to do. I don't care where you are anywhere on the earth. Someone's trying to get you to go against what I said. Listen to what Yahweh says. That's the recommendation. Any contributions? Now I can tell you that I love you.
This is deep. This is very profound. And I'm listening to every word.
Praise the Holy One of Israel.
Yes.
Thank you for that, Sister Cheryl. I appreciate that. I know it's difficult.
Yes, Brother Dawid.
I know that it's hard. I know that I know it's heavy, but guess what? If I don't tell you, you might never probably hear it. I'm only telling you this because you're supposed to go back and read it for yourself and find out whether or not Yah is telling you it's true or not. Yah never told a man to believe in a prophet. He told him to believe what Yahweh said. He never told me to believe in Isaiah.
That's right.
He told me not to believe in Jeremiah. He never told me to believe in any man. He says, what did I tell them to tell you? And every time he told them something, he told them that was something he already told them previously. He told them what he said in the Torah. So the prophets were never coming with another message. They were always telling the children of Israel to come back and turn back to Yah. Turn back to the laws, the statutes, and the commandments. That's the only message that they've ever received. They never received another message. Never. And I want to share that with you. Because I think it's important, because I just said it, right? And like I said, when I say something, I wanted to make sure that you guys never take it like I'm the one saying it. I don't want to be the one that's saying it, because if I said it, then it loses its efficacy. It loses its Oh, okay, 44. It loses its value when I say it. If I say, well, I said it, you could be like, well, he said it. He's just on one. He's just real religious, right? So, I don't want to, Dawid is cool, but, I think I see it differently. Okay. So we don't want that. You don't want it. Okay. What you want is you want the truth. Listen what Yah says. Okay. And it's in verse number, let's just read 44. Okay. It says, the word came to Jeremiah concerning all the people Yehuda living in the land of Egypt, and Migdal, Tapas, Naph, the land of Patros. Here's what Yahweh Zavaoth says, the Elohim of Israel says, okay? This is what he says. You have seen all the disaster I inflicted upon Jerusalem, all the cities. There you are today, ruined, with no one living in them. It came about because of all the wicked things they did to make me angry. That's why I destroyed it. It's because all the wicked things that they did to make me angry. Okay, because I do get angry. Okay, and they were sacrificing and serving other gods, which are not me. Okay, whom they did not know. Our ancestors don't know anybody else but Yah. And when he talks about knowing, he's talking about intimacy, meaning you guys are the one I gave my name to, you gave my offerings to, you're the one that I exposed myself to. Neither did they, nor you, nor your ancestors. Okay, so none of us, neither they, nor you, nor your ancestors know any other Elohim but Yah. Period. I sent you all my servants. Told you earlier what a servant is, which is a slave. My servants, the prophets. That's who I sent, my servants, the prophets. I sent them what? Frequently. With the message. Don't do the horrible thing which I hate. But they neither listened nor obeyed, so as to turn from their wickedness and stop offering to other gods. Where did this thing that he says I hate, where did that come from? From the golden calf. You understand? That's what Yah said. I sent the message frequently, but you guys won't listen. I've sent prophets, my servants, but you won't listen. You will not listen to what I tell you. Why? Because you want to listen to somebody else. And when you're going to listen to that person, I want to see if they're going to be able to help you. Because the reason why I'm coming to judge is to find out who's going to save you from me. That's what I want you to know. That's what I want you to know. That there is no one who's going to deliver you from my hand. Okay. So this is a prayer of Daniel in chapter number 9. He says, Daniel, in the first year of his reign, I was reading the scriptures. Well, what are the scriptures? The scrolls of the Torah. Okay. Thinking about the number of years in which Yahweh had told Yirmiyahu. So he was reading what was in the scriptures. He's reading what Yirmiyahu, the prophet, would be for the 70 years of desolation. I turned to Yahweh to seek an answer, pleading with him in prayer, with fasting, sackcloth, and ashes. It wasn't a regular I'm on my knees prayer. It was I'm pleading with him in prayer and fasting, and I'm pushing myself back like somebody died. He said, I prayed to Yahweh, my Elohim, and I made this confession. That's part of your prayer. Confess. Please, 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 Yahweh, great and fearsome Elohim, who keeps his covenant and extends his grace to those who love him and observe and obey his mitzvot, his commands. Yah's grace is only given to those who love him and observe his mitzvot. That's in Shemot, chapter number 20. You can verify it. He extends grace only to those who love him and those who observe his commandments. You don't get any grace if you don't observe and do his commandments. If you don't love him, you don't get, because if you love him, you'll do what he says. This is his confession. We have sinned. We, the nation. He said, I turned, but who's he praying for? The nation. We sinned. You start praying, you talk about we, not me. We have sinned. We have done wrong, acted wickedly. We rebelled, and we turned away from your commandments and your rulings. Now, this is a man that everyone loves to say that he was Yah's beloved, and Yah did call him beloved. But he's telling you what he did. He said, we have sinned. The nation, we have what? Not listened to your servants, the prophets. You better see Yah working tonight. He's telling you again who his servants are, the prophets. We have not listened to them, like we just saw in Jeremiah, who spoke in your name. To who? To our kings, our leaders, our ancestors, and to all the people of the land. To you, Yahweh, belongs righteousness, not to anybody else, not to nobody else. But to us, today belongs shame. Does he sound like he's saying anything new? He's saying shame. Why? Because of all the stuff that he just mentioned. We're wicked, we're rebelling, we're doing this. And this is a man of prayer. This is a man who got visions. This is a man who got employed by Babylon to be the Nebuchadnezzar's right-hand man. Okay? All of us, to the men of Yehuda, the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and all Yisrael, including those nearby and those far away. That's include all of us. Throughout all the countries where you have driven them, that includes us. Because they broke faith with you, that's us. Yes, Yahweh, shame falls on us and our kings and our leaders and our ancestors because we sinned against you. This is a prayer. Not asking for stuff, not asking that you give me a brand new house or bless me or none of that. I'm talking about what we've done, okay? And his name, by the way, Daniel, means Elohim is my judge. That's what his name means, the judge of me, El. It is for you, it is for Yahweh, our Elohim, to show compassion and forgiveness because we rebelled. We rebelled against him. We didn't listen to the voice of Yahweh, our Elohim, so that we could live by his laws, which he presented to us through his servants, the prophets. Yes, all Israel flouted your Torah. Yeah, they were going around telling everybody they had the Torah. And they turned away, unwilling to listen to your voice. And his voice is the Torah. This is what Yah is talking about in Psalms 50. It says, you got my laws on your lips and you have my covenant in your mouth, but you throw my words behind you. Therefore, the curse and the oath, meaning the promise that's written in the Torah of Moshe, the servant of Elohim, was poured out on us because we sinned against him. Who? Yahweh. He carried out the threats he spoke against us and against the judges who judge us, bringing upon us disaster, great all under heaven. Nothing has been done like this, what has been done to Jerusalem. He's going to burn it down. As was written in the Torah of Moshe, not the Torah of David, not the Torah of anybody else, not the Torah of Yahushua, not the Torah of Joshua, not the Torah of Caleb, the Torah of Moshe. This is hundreds of years later. This whole disaster came upon us. We did not appease Yahweh, our Elohim, by renouncing our worshiping and our wrongdoing, and discerning your truth. We haven't done that. We haven't renounced our wrongdoing. We want to play dumb like we didn't do anything. Okay? And discerning your truth. It's not what we want, it's what his truth is. Yahweh watched for the right moment to bring disaster upon us. For Yahweh, our Elohim, was just in everything he did. He doesn't have to be sorry about what he did to us. We deserve it. We didn't listen again to when he spoke. Now, Yahweh Elohim, who brought your people out of the land of Mitzrayim with a strong hand, thereby winning renown for yourself, meaning a name, as it is the case this day, we sinned. We acted wickedly. Yahweh, in keeping with your justice, please allow your anger and fury to be turned away from your city, Jerusalem, which he did not. He still destroyed it. Because it is due to our sins and our wrongdoings of our ancestors that Jerusalem and all your people have become objects of scorn among everyone around us. Therefore, our Elohim, our God, listen to the prayer and the pleadings of your servant and cause your face to shine on your desolated sanctuary for your own sake. May Elohim turn your ear, hear, and open your eyes and see how desolate we are. As we are in the city which bears your name, we plead with you, not because of our own righteousness. That's the reason why we're pleading, is not because you're righteous, it's because of your compassion. Yahweh, hear. Yahweh, forgive. Yahweh, pay attention. Don't delay action for your own sake, my Elohim, because your city and your people bear your name. Not only does the city bear his name, but your people bear the name. So if he burned down the city that bears his name, do you think he'll burn the people that bears his name? Yes. That's what he's talking about. That's what he's talking about. That's from Daniel. So you see what the dilemma is, right? Are we going to listen? You saw what Jeremiah said. We didn't listen. Yah says you didn't listen. Daniel said you didn't listen. Isaiah says you didn't listen. Psalm said, I'm judging you. I'm going to tear your heart out. I'm going to put something on you. I'm going to see you face to face and you ain't going to be able to handle it. If you want to play games and you want to think that I'm like you, I'm going to show you. Don't play any games with Yah. If you're in this, you get in it. And you stay with it. You stay on the track. You stay on the road. Because it's by his mercy and his grace for those who love him and keep his commandments that he put us all on this journey. But I got news for you. If we decide that we're going to turn our back on him and we want to, act like we're doing something, he says, I know who you are. I know your thoughts.
Oh, yeah.
I know who you are. I know who you are. Don't fool yourself. Do not play a game. These moedim of matzah and all this is not a game. This is for real. Yah Shabbat is not a game, it's for real. The laws and statutes and commandments are not a game, it's for real. It's the realest thing that you'll ever come across. That's why they don't want you to know it. Because they know if you don't keep the laws and statutes and commandments, they know automatically Israel's dead. They know that. That's why they took it away from us, to make sure that you never rise up to be a people again. They don't want you to be a people. They don't want you, because if you become the people of Elohim, that means you get to rule the world. That's what's at stake here. It's a land and its opportunity and its rulership and its royalty. That's what you'll be giving up if you turn your back on Yah. And don't tell me that you won't. Tell me that you decided not to, okay? Because it says in there that even Dawid, myself, can decide that I don't want to do what he says. So if that's the case, if I got the kind of power to accept him, I also have the power to reject him. So I have to be real with me. It's not about him. It's about me. It's about you. You have to be real with yourself. It's not our conversation with him. It's a conversation that we have to have with ourselves. Is this real for you? Or are you playing a game with yourself? Is it real for you? If it's real for you, you'll do your Torah portion. If it's real for you, you'll learn the language. If it's real for you, you'll change your diet. If it's real for you, then make it happen. Make it happen. Praise the Holy One of Israel. I know I'm a tough teacher.
Praise the Holy One of Israel.
The Holy One of Israel.
Hallelujah.
Praise the Holy One
appreciate
of
you.
Israel.
Just like I said the other day, I appreciate you. I really do.
Yes.
Because you go to the truth, you know, you go, yes, you show us. You're not talking about what you think. You're directing us to the words that we can study.
Yeah, now you ain't no tough. Yeah, you ain't no tough teacher. You're the right teacher.
You're the right teacher. I agree.
Thank you.
Yes.
Praise
you know.
Thank you.
We don't need no pastors.
I've held you long.
Yes,
No, you don't need no pastors. No, we need that
we
wrong.
need a teacher.
Yeah, well, we you need, but what we need is y'all to put that staff on us to teach and to tame us. That's what we need. That includes me, guys. Y'all's taming me. So don't think I'm like on you. He's taming me. And he's saying, listen, I'm not playing with you. Okay. So get into the text, read it, understand it, know the verbs and how it's conjugated, know all that. So you could talk with confidence. You could go to anywhere you need to go to talk about what I want you to talk about. That was not my intent tonight to talk about the Shabbat, but that's how it happened. Okay. So Baruch atah Yahweh Eloheinu. Malek ha'olam.
Baruch atah Yahweh Eloheinu. Malek ha'olam.
Yatzor.
Yatzor.
Uvarei.
Uvarei koshek.
Oseh shalom.
Oseh shalom.
Uvarei et hakol.
Uvarei et hakol.
Blessed are you, Yahweh, our Elohim. You're the King of the world. He is forming the light, creating darkness, and he's making shalom and creating all things. That's who we're dealing with.
Yes.
The King of the world. So
yes.
Go this week. I need you to look at all the beauty, watch some programs on planet Earth, so you can get a little sense of who we're talking about, and the power and the magnitude and the majesty of his name, and how wonderful and gracious he is, how merciful he is to his people and those who love him and keep his commandments, which are the people here online. Okay.
Yeah.
Yah's not, listen, I'm not here to point the finger. I want you to understand that. I'm telling you what he's saying. So whatever way you receive is the way you got to talk to him and say, Yah, is there something that you're trying to tell me? Because I want to be right with you. I don't want to play no games, because you're my creator. You're not my friend. I'm your servant.
Amen.
And as a servant, I'm inclined whatever with the master to do. I love you and I want to be at your service. What can I do for you today? What can I do for you? Ask him, what can I do for you, master? That's what he's looking for. He's looking for somebody to say that. So I'm asking today before him, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do for your people? Because it's not about me. It's about all of us. What do I want Yah to do for me so I can do for his people? Everything you do should be for his people, because he's for his people. He's not for just an individual. He's for the whole nation of Israel. That's why he's begging all of us to turn. He doesn't want to destroy anybody. But if they don't listen to him, there's by default. The contract stipulates if you don't do what I say, you die. That's it. Period. That's what it is, because of how great the contract is. Look on the other side of it. What are all the benefits of the contract? The contract right now, we lost everything, right? But he says, if you do everything I say, I'll reinstitute and give you back I'll restore your fortunes and your wealth. You'll be one of the wealthiest people on the face of the earth. You'll be the chief of all the nations. So that's what's at stake. So to rule the world and have all the wealth of the world is at stake, then how must you and I live to be worthy of that? He doesn't give us because you're free. It's because you are being my servant. I want to hold you responsible. I can't bless you and then somebody's doing you're doing the same thing they're doing, and then you expect some different result, like I'm some pushover. Like I'm gonna minimize the righteousness because you're my child. No, I'm not going to minimize who I am, because everything is predicated upon the holiness of me. So if you're going to be the wealthiest one on the earth, then you have to follow the wealthiest laws on the planet. And I gave them to you. You should be honored to do what I tell you to do. Hallelujah. Well, I praise the Holy One of Israel. I'm going to be up all night now, you guys. Praise the Holy One. Thank you guys
Praise
tonight
the
for
Holy
your
One.
opportunity.
Praise Yah.
Praise Yah. Thank you.
Hey, Renee, were you on class today? You on my Hebrew class? I thought I saw you come in. Did you come in?
I did. I thought it was pretty awesome. I didn't know you guys were pretty it was pretty crunk at the end with the singing and the rapping the Hebrew words.
Oh, you like that?
I did. I thought it was pretty neat. So
well, yeah, because it's a learning experience, right? So I wanted to teach them how to make it fun.
mm-hmm.
You know, you could do that. It's like anytime learning has to be fun. It has to be enjoyable. And, you know, song is used in the language in terms of when David wrote songs and when Moshe wrote his song, and there's always singing and stuff. Our people are the people who love to sing and dance. And so you can use music and incorporate that into your learning, and it makes things fun. That's how we're
so when is your album going to drop?
I don't plan on dropping an album.
You gonna have a release party?
Yeah, party.
I enjoyed it.
Praise the Holy One of Israel.
Yeah, hallelujah.
Cool. I'm glad. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, thank you, TORAH. So you can see the classes are, you know, they're different, but it's pretty cool. I appreciate that. Thank you, Renee. I appreciate that. You know, you guys know anybody else who may be interested, let them know. You know, I'm available for them. So it's either on Shabbat or they can come on Sunday, you know, we're on Rishon like today.
So are you going to start the class over again?
Yeah, after I get through a cycle, yeah, I might have to start it, but we're moving on to the grammar now. So,
right.
You know, but my class, I have 2 classes. I'm still doing the book in the class on Saturday on Shabbat. And then the book on the other one, I'm doing the actual, they got through their lessons, and now I'm trying to bring them up to speed. So
are those
they're going to be
recorded
going
somewhere?
into the grammar. Yeah, they are. Do you need a copy? Let me know.
Yeah, because you know I always catch
you need a
them.
copy, I'll send it to you.
I always be showing up late, like, man, they already on vowels and everything else. I'm like,
yeah, no, it's fine. You just just email me and I'll send a copy just for everybody online right now. If you want a copy of it, I'll send it to you. So you can review it at your own leisure. You don't have to come to class.
Yes.
I'll send it to you. And you take it when you want to.
Please send it to me, Brother
You
Dewey.
guys send me email. I'll send it to you, you know, and you take a look at it like, oh, okay. And it has good teaching in. You know, it talks about different things, different aspects. And so it just reiterates everything we've been talking about. So it's good. Okay.
Right.
Yes.
I learned a lot.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah.
Oh,
Praise
you did?
the Holy
Good,
One.
good. Yeah. Praise the Holy One. That's
Man, you need to put all the you need to put the teachers all on the DVD.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, you guys.
So there is an album